I'm on my way to North London, to the old bakery, which actually doesn't bake bread. It's a miniature distillery producing an award-winning gin.
Doors will open on the right-hand side. Change for Bakerloo and Central lines.
Ian, lovely to see you.
Michael, thank you for coming down to Old Bakery Gin. Thank you.
I must say you've got the most beautiful sign here. Tell me the history of that.
When we were renovating the property, there were flecks of paint on the wall. We realised that there was an old ghost sign there. We weren't quite sure. We found a photograph from some archives of the original bakery sign, so we revived that, much to its glory. Everybody loves it in the locality. And when it came to choosing a label for our gin, which was an absolute minefield, no pun intended, Michael, but the writing really was on the wall, because we just literally used the bakery sign as our label.
I love it. Can we take a look around?
Please do, follow me.
Ian, lovely historic premises you have here. Is there a connection with gin in the old days?
An illicit connection, Michael. Definitely an illicit connection. This is where we're sat. This was originally the grain store for the bakery. Next door, which is my office for my plumbing leak detection business, which was once the original bakery. And at the other end of the mews next door was the old stables, which was the horse and cart delivery service for the bakery. During the renovations, I tracked down the 7th generation great-grandson of the original bakers. I got the original 4 ingredients, and here we are in the grain store making gin.
So it was 7 generations down that you traced,
Yep.
Meaning that the production of illicit gin was back in what period?
It was the late 1800s.
Late 1800s.
Late 1800s.
And so you knew the ingredients but not the recipe, is that right?
Yes, the actual configuration of, it's like me asking you about your family's apple pie. You could say, eggs, sugar, whatever, all the rest of it, but the actual configurations of putting it together, that would be the family secret, I would suggest, and that would be just experience. When we heard 7th hand what was in there, I would suggest that the real recipe in terms of how it was created was lost in time. So we've just recreated from the 4 very simple ingredients what we think is probably as close to it, and it's an award-winning gin.
Congratulations on that. But there's a bit of the story missing. I mean, it's one thing to find out that there was an illicit distillery here, quite another for you to decide to try to make your own gin, given that that's not the business you were in.
No, absolutely. I mean, it was just a bit of fun. Is the truth. I speak to gin makers all the time, and when I asked them what inspired them to make gin, they said, I wanted to create the perfect gin martini. I wanted to create the perfect gin, this, that, and the other. Well, the only way I could describe it, and it's really not my own words, somebody said the gin found me, because had I have not discovered this, probably you and I would not be talking about gin. It was never on the horizon. It was never a business aim. It was never a goal. Like a gin and tonic, like most people. But because we've restored the mews, and there's some other things that came out during the investigations about the history of the mews, it was just such a wonderful story. I just couldn't bear for it to be lost in time, to be quite frank. And it was really that love of the story that drove my passion to create gin, if that makes sense. They made illegal gin in my office. I just couldn't bear to let that go. I just thought it was too good to be true. You couldn't make that up. So it was that just drove me. I thought, well, I want to get to the bottom of this. You've literally recreated something that was there originally.
But you have made an award-winning gin. How's that come about?
Well, I've been very, very fortunate. Our drinkers really like the product, so I think that's the secret to that. But in terms of the actual product itself, the gin is very, very simple. It's only 4 very simple ingredients. The ingredients aren't even complex. In a really busy, crowded gin market, there are 3 to 4 new brands each week coming out, and the only way that new brands can differentiate themselves is to put more odd botanicals in there. I mean, I saw one the other day where it had ant pheromones in there. Unique, absolutely. Does it make a great gin? I haven't got a clue. So in this really busy market, here is something that was around, that has some heritage. It's really simple, and it's nice. I think that's the secret, really.
Ian, I didn't expect it to be as small as this. It's tiny.
It's a really small micro distillery. It's I think a tiny micro distillery is an understatement. It's smaller than tiny. But it is what it is. It's producing some fantastic gin, and because we've never done it before and the equipment is incredibly expensive, we just bought starter kits because I had no idea it was going to be successful. It was a bit of fun. We restored some history to the muse, and the gin has run away with itself. But yet, literally, this award-winning gin starts in here.
It looks like the distillery is running. What actually is happening here?
Well, we've got 4 stills. They're all loaded up with neutral grain spirit. We've then put our 4 secret ingredients in. Well, 3 secret ingredients because one of them is juniper, otherwise it wouldn't be gin, so 3 secret ingredients. They're boiling up. The steam is literally rising or condensing up through this condensing unit. And as that steam cools down, because the condenser has cold water flowing through it, that vapour becomes the neat gin. And it literally comes out of the parrot's foot. We put the parrot's foot here. And we have alcohol meters here bobbing up and down in the alcohol. And we have to keep measuring that because legally it has to be above a minimum of 96 ABV or alcohol by volume.
96?
Only 96. That's the legal EU minimum that it has to be classified as a gin.
But that would kill you.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You go blind, you really would. So you certainly wouldn't be drinking that. So once the neat, what we call the distillate, has been created, we then cut it down with spring water.
Was it complicated to get this setup going?
It's actually, it looks more complex than it really is. The complexity was actually operating it effectively and, more importantly, consistently, because making a great bottle of gin is one thing, but consistently replicating that's the difficult bit. And you've seen us tweaking with it every few minutes because the temperatures that are created in the still are absolutely crucial to creating a fantastic gin.
Yeah, it looks like the moment of truth.
Can only be one.
So when you smell that, what are you picking up?
Well, the gin is categorised as a London dry gin, so legally, again, it has to have the predominant, juniper has to be the predominant botanical, so when you get a good nose of this gin, you really, really do pick up the juniper.
Shall we have one?
Absolutely. I think these are small measures, Michael.
And it looks like you're using some pretty fancy tonics here. What are these?
It's a Merchant Heart tonic. It's a Japanese tonic. It's fantastic. I mean, we've been through so many different tonic waters trying to get the right tonic, and this is perfect. It really complements the gin because it's very, very simple. This is just a normal tonic water, and this is a normal tonic water made with hibiscus. No artificial anything in them whatsoever. It's completely natural.
Well, that is lovely. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.